Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to tie this fly. I'm going to discuss a little bit about parachute, how you're supposed to tie parachute post better, and how you're going to mount parachute hackle better to ensure more consistent flies, more durable flies, and more pretty flies, let's call them like that. I mean, it's not super neat one because I didn't strip one side from the hackle, but it's a pretty neat one, I'd say. So stay with me and let's talk about flies. So let's start with the hooking device, and in this case it's size 16 because what I try to imitate is rather small, so 16 is on the larger scale here. I like black color, as I told in some previous videos, and because I'm using the small hook, I'm going to use the thin thread, and you don't need to use as thin as I'm using here, 30 denier. It's for you who are using another scale, it's 18/0, and this one is GSP thread, Semperfli Nano Silk. So I'm going to lay foundation of thread along the first third of the hook here, or first half, not important so much right now. Try to keep thread flat because that's the way how you prevent bulk. Now at the moment, like right now, I can do two things. I can create trailing shock, tail or whatever, or I can just deal with parachute post. I'll do the trailing shock first because I have to scrub it with Velcro a little bit. So for the trailing shock I'm using Antron, and it's Ginger the Rant. The reason I'm using this color is, I mean, I mentioned it before, it's the color of trailing shocks for most insects, more or less. So you can do it like this, catch it with a couple of turns, fold it back into itself and cut it, or you can go with your thread, my preferred way, like so, and then just apply this dubbing in a rather thick noodle that's easy to brush out. It's piled weird. Anyway, I want to create rather thick loose noodle. Don't use too much, this is going to be too much for sure, but after first wrap or two wraps, as soon as you notice that they start catching here, you can tighten it a little bit, not too much again. And when you think you have enough, just pull away whatever is there. Now being neat at this point is not very important, obviously, because this is trailing shock, it's not supposed to be neat. So I'm just gonna brush it out, and as I previously showed in some of my videos, you already got a tapered trailing shock. So what you can do is you can actually cut it to length, because the trailing shock has more or less the same length of the body. Okay, I'm gonna go back with thread. Now, because I'm using flat thread, I can allow myself to go back and forth a little bit more than I would usually do. If I used thicker thread, I wouldn't do it at the beginning. Now, it's time to do parachute post again, because this is rather thin and small hook. I cannot use the whole bunch of it, bundle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my dubbing needle, and I'm going to go through these knots over here, like so, as you can see, and it's done. So we have one or two more knots. Well, this one here a bit more thick, but it's easy to untie, and then one more over here. Just go with your needle a couple of times through it. Some people prefer to use dubbing needle, Velcro, and go through it. I don't, because if you do it with Velcro instantly, it's going to go through the knots very hard and it's going to tangle a little bit, and then it's going to pull out and break some of those fibers. With this, I can save all what I need. I can divide it in half if I need, like here, or maybe not so even halves. Not so important right now. Now, my preferred method for this kind of fly is to go around the hook shank, and then you can just twist it and see how thick this parachute post is. If it doesn't look right, take it away, and then just take away a few fibers and come to your hook again. I mean, this is not an exact science, obviously, so trial and error is something that you need to do. So I'll go a little bit forward and go with my parachute post like so. Twist it again, seems right. Okay. Now, this thread is to stop it here and then go back, forth, back, forth, around. Now it's time to check, is everything okay? Check if the proportions you're looking for are right, if your parachute post is centered well. So, and then let's go. It's very good if you can do it with your flat thread, obviously. Flat thread is for the reason that when you mount your feather, if you don't have flat thread foundation, if you have those bumps, the thread will fight you, and you don't want that on parachute. You want to make nice, neat parachute hackle. It's not that not neat parachute hackle will not catch some fish. It will obviously catch as many as the nice one, but it's more likely that some people will grab nice fly from the box and fish it. I mean, it already has some rough parts like this trailing shock. It will look buggy underwater. Now I'm going back because I did bad wind. Your winds should be one on the top of another, creating smooth underbody for your parachute. From time to time, pull apart parachute post and your thread just to tighten everything down. Now do one wrap more than you want your hackle to go up, and I will tell you later why. Okay, it's not so rigid as I want it for now, because I didn't do too many wraps around and in front. Now I'll do a little bit of tapering here, and okay, now it's pretty good. I'll do alright. So this is just okay. Now it's pretty good, pretty solid. And when I go with my feather up and down with the thread, when I will secure the feather over here, it will be even more secure. If you want, you can add some super glue over here, but it's not necessary. I'm gonna counter spin my thread to make it flat again, because with each wrap you introduce one spin in your thread, one revolution around your thread, so it's going to be thicker. Now for the body, I'm using peacock feather. It has lighter color, and I'm going to use those barbs as opposed to the biot. Reason why I'm using those barbs is they're simply easier to work with. I'll just take away one barb, and I'm gonna place it same way I would place biot. And I will just, well, let me explain you now. You can see this lighter side, and maybe you can see the shape. I hope you can see the shape. So this almost translucent side is going to face downwards. Okay. And with your flat thread, just go forward, secure everything here. Now I'm gonna take my hackle pliers and wind this barb towards the parachute post, reaching into it and tying off almost in, well, touching it, to be honest. And let's go. So as you can see, unlike Biot, this has longer, it's longer, so you have more length to work with, and it's going to be thinner, so you can go closer to the parachute post with it, as opposed with Biot, which you have to cut lengthwise to be able to come this close here. Now I'm gonna tie it off right about here. 2 turns. Then I need my scissors. Okay. Reason why I didn't use super glue is that this fly will not catch any trout. It's going to catch some fish that they don't have teeth. So that's the reason why I don't use super glue here. And it's quite strong, so I don't need to make it any stronger. Now I need to attach feather. There are 2 ways you can do it. Well, there are many more ways, but 2 ways I use. You can do it fancy way. You can strip off the barb, the rachis, in like one side of the rachis. You can strip it full, and you will get nice, neat, parallel parachute. Or you can use just both sides of it, and just use make a regular parachute post, which I'm going to do now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to strip those barbs from here. Now, because I'm going to wrap it in the clockwise direction, I want this first couple of barbs, naked rachis, I want it to go around the parachute post like so, because when you do so, those barbs will lay flat, parallel to the water. Now, if you start mounting like this, some of the barbs will be upward, so the parachute post will, parachute feather will not be as neat. Now I'm gonna place shiny side towards me, so you will have that U-shape effect, like so. The reason behind it is that this will allow this body to emerge a little bit, submerge a little bit deeper into water film. So let me just turn this a little bit more. Now let me just show you one more thing here. Okay, so this is the place where I tied off my thread, and I will extend bare rachis a little bit further up. Okay, this is going to be fine. Now I'll cut the bare rachis over here. Cover it with thread. Now every once in a while you want to counter spin your thread to make it more flat, to make it less bulky. Okay. Now it's very important that you have flat thread going upwards to your the parachute post, and I'm gonna counter spin it again here. Now let me show you this. Keep the feather and the post together. You want shiny side of the feather to face you. Now as I go upwards, I will stop one wrap before the last wrap what I've mounted previously. It's a bit difficult to see right now, but I think it's over here. So I'm gonna start going downwards. You can notice that my thread is flat, which is ensuring that I have very nice and flat foundation for my feather mount. Now, if that's all, it's nicely centered, I can proceed and tie in my thorax material. For the thorax, I will use just some, I'll show you here, dubbing that I made with a hare's mask, hare's ear, and some UV. And it has quite a bit of guard hairs in it, which will provide some bugginess and legs for some flies, not for this one, to be honest. I'm gonna dub it a little bit tighter, and I did it in a wrong direction. You should do it, you should spin it like this, so when you mount it, it will tighten up on itself, but it's not gonna be a problem here. It's a short noodle, so now what I'm doing right now, I'm tightening everything up, and I'm checking if I can see the thread from beneath. If I'm not, it means that I can proceed with everything here. I want to finish off with the thread behind the parachute post, as you can see. Now I need to transfer everything like so, and now I need to move the camera so you can see everything. Okay, now if you're catching trout, you can drop a tiny little drop of super glue over here, which will ensure more durability. And believe it or not, I had one of parachutes before that lasted me a couple of seasons. I can't recall precisely how many, but it was long. Now notice that as I go, I'm going with the bare rachis here, and the next wrap is going to go under it, and each wrap is going to be placed below the previous one, and I'm going to tighten it, and as you can see, the barbs are placing themselves nicely. As soon as they are starting fighting me, that's the sign that I have to stop and that I had enough winds. Now I'll do 2 wraps, tight ones here, and stop. Now I will use serrated tip of my scissors to cut the feather. Okay, it's time to finish off the fly, and what I will try to do is, there are a couple of barbs that I've caught here. I didn't see that one, so I'll just pull them up, and I will go with my thread, I will go below all of them, and this is how I will ensure that all barbs will be placed above the hook shank plane. That's very important for the position of the parachute. If you have too many barbs placing below this hook shank plane, you may disbalance your parachute fly. So I'm not gonna put too many thread wraps here, so 3, max 4, that's it. Now I'll pull, tighten the knot, cut everything. Okay, now let me straighten it up. Now, as you can see, I will just center everything again if necessary. Now, what is important is that you don't have too many barbs or fibers below the hook shank plane, because as I said, it can disbalance your fly. Here I don't have any, which is good. Now what I will do, I will just spin this and cut it and it's always better to cut it longer than shorter. Okay, now I forgot to mention that the reason why I chose this parapost wing in light gray is because it resembles natural wings. It's not too dark, it's not too light, it's not too shiny, but still visible to us. Not maybe in the darkest conditions, but it will be visible in most conditions. Fish this fly on a rather thin tippet. I would suggest maybe 5x or 6x, even thinner if you can, if your fish allows you. And that would be it. What I usually do is I use longer tippets, so it would be more than 1 meter long, to allow me to have more drift. The reason why I use longer tippet is that it usually doesn't straighten. When it lands on the water, it has those serpents going around, which are then slowly straightened up by currents, which then by the consequence has longer drift, if that makes sense to you. Then for the trailing shock, you can use, well, you can use Zelon, you can use Antron, you can use CDC, you can use whatever you want. I use Antron because it has a little bit of shiny effect in it. It's pretty durable, and I have it near me. I use it for many years now, and I never had any problems with it. Usually the fly falls apart before this goes away. Now, as I promised, I will show you how to tie more pretty fly. Basically, it's not going to be functional. It's going to have the same function as the previously tied fly, but it's actually going to be more pretty, more neat, more parallel, and but it's basically serving to give you more likes on the social media. Anyway, you will need same things as you need for any parachute: nice flat surface to mount a feather, and you will need to strip barbs from one side of the feather. Depending the way how you mount your feather, it will depend the side of the barbs you're going to strip. Now, I will wrap these in a conventional direction, meaning clockwise, and as I said, first wrap goes around the post here, bare stem, and then next one goes straight below it. Okay, now straight below it, as I said. Make sure that you make tight wraps, keep the tension, and this is why the parachute post is very important to be rigid, because I can put some pressure, as you can see, on the feather without holding the parachute post, and just wind the hackle in even, nice tight wraps. I hope that you can see the root of the rake is here, so because it's tightly stacked, and as soon as I reach the hook, well, the back of the fly, I will twist my thread to make it more thin, and then 1, 2 wraps, tight wraps, and I'll stop there. As previously done, serrated edge of my scissors. That's it. I'll tighten the knot even more, and then I'll go below all those barbs that I may have caught. 1 more wrap, that's it. And then with the whip finisher, go under all those barbs, try not to catch any, and make a whip finish knot with not too many wraps. For those of you who can do it with your hands, I think it's way better to do it with your hands. Tighten the knot. Cut. I'm gonna cut the parachute right now. Now let me transfer the camera and the fly, and let's see what we got. So as you can see, we got very nice flat parachute post that looks perfect, and I'm gonna make a couple of photos of it so you can see what I mean when I say it's perfect for Instagram and social media. So guys, that's it. So thank you very much for watching. If you did like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and see you next time.